Welcome another of my guests joining us on this special broadcast. Joining us is Colonel Danveer Singh, who is on the phone line with us. Colonel, welcome to the special broadcast. What can you tell us about Operation Sindoor?
Hi, thanks for calling me on this important event. Well, Operation Sindoor has been very, very precise, very surgical, and it has got a very, very clear message across to the world that we are against terror. These guys had killed innocent civilians, basically newlyweds, and the Sindoor name comes from there. It is a Hindu symbol of married woman, and they killed the male members of the families who were the revelers over there. So it is basically to do with that, and that revenge has been taken. And we have carefully selected targets which are clear-cut terrorist headquarters in Pakistan. And now the ball is in Pakistan military's court. They'll have to respond. They will be under a lot of tremendous public pressure, and their image, which has got very dented with this. And if they don't respond, they will have a serious trouble in the country. Country is already suffering a lot of insurgencies in various states where they are demanding separation. So it is a very decisive moment for Pakistan, and Pakistan has no other option but to carry out something like the way they did after Balakot. Now, the point over here is that what will Pakistan target? We don't have any terrorist camp. So if Pakistan targets military strikes, military installations, then I can say that it will be a doomsday for Pakistan if they do that, because thereafter the response will be legit, response will be military to military, and response is going to be very, very massive, which they will not be able to bear. So question now is that will Pakistan bite the bait, will Pakistan fall into the strategic trap? The trap or the ambush has been set, which was initiated initially by Pakistan by carrying out terror attacks. So now let's see how Pakistan responds. But Pakistan will respond. So how Pakistan will respond, what Pakistan will target, that will decide the future course of this new conflict.
Right, Colonel Singh, Dr. Pandey, do stay on. Let me go across to General Rameshwar Yadav. General Yadav, as Colonel Singh was mentioning, we are waiting for a Pakistani response, possibly, if at all General Asim Munir chooses to act in that direction. Your thoughts on what he could possibly do, and is he prepared to face the consequences of his actions as well?
You see, this is the consequence that will dictate what they can do. And like Colonel Singh here said, it is a strategic trap. And in case they do anything, means since we do not have any terror camps of or any other such target, so thereafter means they have no choice but to get onto some military target. All right, and civilian target, I don't think they will choose. Even if they choose that, so the onus lies with the Pakistan, and in case that happens, it amounts to escalation of this entire game plan. And if that happens, then Pakistan had it nice and proper. And answering to one of your earlier questions to Madam Alia, what is the Army Chief's response? My opinion is Asif Munir has done the biggest disservice to Pakistan that no other Army Chief has done by that speech that he gave about a week prior to the Pahalgam episode. So he is in a tight corner. And he has hardly any, they have very, very limited options. If they escalate the ante, in that case, the entire international community is going to get after them, which they cannot afford as of now. And looking at their economy and other compulsions that they have a lot of problems within the country. And Balochistan is on fire. Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, TTP. They are also quite volatile, and in the given circumstance, I don't think is many options other than holding certain briefing your ISPR and trying to spread some fake news and go into the denial to look nothing has happened here like they did in Balakot. So I do not foresee a major action. Even if it is going to be action, it's going to be a very small and insignificant kind of an operation.
Indeed, symbolic at best, possibly. Indeed, symbolic at best, says General Yadav. Let me take that to Dr. Pandey. Dr. Pandey, do you think General Asim Munir has bitten off more than he can chew? What are your thoughts, as General Yadav was mentioning, Pakistan's internal crises, including in Balochistan, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and so on, about the viability of Pakistan as you and I know it, and on Pakistan civil-military relations as well. Dr. Pandey?
So let me start with the civil-military relations. I believe General Asim Munir's position has been strengthened.
Why do you say that?
Because with whenever Pakistan has domestic problems, the military seeks to divert attention by focusing on India and on Kashmir, because it rallies public support. He had lost public support because he was against Imran Khan, and Imran Khan is one of the popular leaders, and so he had problems and challenges within his rank and file, and also within the broader Pakistani community, younger people. All of those people, you watch Pakistani social media, watch their television channels. People may or may not like Asim Munir, but he has managed to divert their attention towards India and against India. So he has managed to relieve the pressure that was on him domestically by diverting attention towards India and towards the issue of Kashmir. So that's the first part. Second, because of the fact that it is to do with India and to do with Kashmir, the current Prime Minister and the civilian government will always have very little say. It will be the military, and they will defer to the military and the army chief in deciding whatever action needs to be taken. So unfortunately, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif will not have as much say when it comes, and he will need to say whatever the Pakistani military would like him to do. Coming to the other challenges, Pakistan has numerous insurgencies. They have a problem on the border with Afghanistan. They have a problem with Iran. There's the Baloch insurgency. There are challenges in the tribal areas, even in the settled Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, in Sindh, in Karachi, inside Pakistani Kashmir, in Gilgit-Baltistan. But the Pakistani military has managed to keep all these insurgencies at some level, keep control over them. What General Munir has done, even before this the attack in Pahalgam, let's go back a few weeks. Do you recall the attack in Balochistan on the train attack, Jafar Express? General Musi Munir and the Pakistani military believe that the Baloch insurgents were supported by India. And so from their point of view, they have used that to crack down on Balochistan. So the military will crack down further on any insurgency, any group which is rising up against them inside Pakistan. So General Munir, in the end of his term, whenever that is, may have a problem. Right now, his position has been strengthened.
Right. Dr. Pandey, General Yadav, Colonel Singh, do stay on. Let me pull up some more information for our viewers who are just tuning in. And Colonel Singh, maybe you can join in as well. We are showing our viewers a picture, a photograph of the 9 sites that were targeted by India in those strikes carried out as part of Operation Sindoor. If I can quickly walk our viewers through those 9 sites. Let me start from the top, Muzaffarabad in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. 2 sites in Muzaffarabad. Then we go on to Kotli, Gulpur, Bimbar, Sialkot, Chak Amru, Muridke, and last but not the least, Bahawalpur. Bahawalpur, viewers, is where the Jaish-e-Mohammed is headquartered, and Muridke is where the Lashkar-e-Taiba is headquartered. And these are across the international border between India and Pakistan, whereas Muzaffarabad, Kotli and Gulpur and as well as Bimbar are in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. So These are the 9 locations, 2 in Muzaffarabad, and then we have 1 each in Kotli, Gulpur, Bhimber, Sialkot, Chak Amru, Muridke and Bahawalpur. Colonel Singh, you want to come in on that? Colonel Singh, are you with us? Can you hear me? All right, General Yadav, if I can come to you, your thoughts on the selection of these 9 targets in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Right, we'll try to connect with our guests in just a bit. But Dr. Pandey, I believe you are still with us, if you can hear me.
Yes.
What do you make of the selection of these 9 sites, the selection of targets, as well as the method of execution? Dr. Pandey?
So 2 things. I mean, these sites have all been selected. They are terrorist in they either have terror camps like the ones inside Pakistani Kashmir, or the 2 sites that you mentioned, Muridke and Bahawalpur. They are the headquarters of Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba. So they have been deliberately chosen for a reason, because the Indian side knows where the terror camps are and where the headquarters of these 2 the most important groups that have targeted India for a long time. Second, I believe the attacks were taken, India did not cross the line of control. The Indian jets basically used standoff missiles to target each these camps. I'm sure General Yadav can give more information, but I believe there were standoff missiles which were used. So jets flew along the India-Pakistan border without crossing it.
Right, Dr. Pandey, do stay on. Let me also bring in my colleague who's joining us on the phone line from Jammu and Kashmir, Salman Qazi. Salman, what can you share with us?
There have been ceasefire violations. Indian Army has confirmed that there
Ramesh, if you don't mind,
all across the LOC today, both in Kashmir and in Jammu division, and 3 innocent lives have been lost in these ceasefire violations. Indian Army has been responding appropriately to these ceasefire violations all across. And during the whole night, there were jets screaming in Srinagar, and you could hear them. And there have been Air Force sirens which have been blaring sometimes. So it has been quite a night here in Srinagar also.
Salman, just to inform you as well as our viewers that the Indian Army put out a statement a short while ago in which it said that Pakistan has again violated the ceasefire agreement by firing artillery in Bhimber Gully in Poonch, Rajouri area, and that the Indian Army is responding appropriately in a calibrated manner. Are the operations still on? Is Operation Sindoor still on, to your estimation?
I think it will be still on, because unless and obviously once we have used standoff missiles and struck the targets inside the Pakistan, obviously it won't be like that. The operation would not be. They would be tracking all eventualities, and I'm sure that Operation Sindoor will still be on. And there has been no confirmation from the government as of yet that the operation is over. And if you remember in 2019, when we did the Balakot strikes, the communication from the government of India was very straightforward. They said that the operation we targeted. We did targets in Pakistan, and the operation is over for now. But right now there has been no such communication as of now. So I'm sure that the government will come. If it was over, then government would have communicated through its communications that the operation is over.
Right, Salman, do stay on. Salman Qazi on the phone line there from Srinagar. Dr. Pandey, just to bring you back in the discussion, you were referring to the targets selected by India, including in Muridke and Bahawalpur. What do you make of the choice of these locations? Because some of them, as you mentioned, Muridke and Bahawalpur, are located across the international boundary or border between Pakistan and India, not across the line of control, as was the case in 2019. So any significance you read into the selection of these targets in particular?
I'd say there are 2 things. One, in 2019, also India crossed sort of, sort of when it targeted Bahawal, sort of,
Balakot.
Balakot, it went into Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
Right.
So it went beyond Pakistani Kashmir, even at that time,
Right.
because it was targeting a terror camp. In this case, I believe India India wanted to strike Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed's headquarters to send a message to these two terror groups, which have caused the largest number of deaths inside India over the last 2 decades in through terror attacks. So it chose to strike them, even though that meant cross. I mean, so Indian jets did not cross the line of control. The missiles did. Let's clarify that. In 2019, Indian jet had crossed the and struck at Balakot. This time, Indian jets stayed on the Indian side and missiles crossed. But yes, India deliberately targeted those two headquarters to send the message to those terror groups and their leaders, and not just to the Pakistani military, that India is targeting, but it's only targeting terror groups and their headquarters. It is not targeting Pakistani civilians, and it is not targeting Pakistani military.
Right. Dr. Pandey, do stay on. I'll come back to you momentarily. Let me also go across to my colleague, Colonel Danveer Singh, who is joining us on the phone line. Colonel Singh, if you can hear me and you're with us, we're discussing about the selection of those 9 sites in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Your thoughts on these 9 sites, which include 2 in Muzaffarabad, and then we have 1 each in Kotli, Gulpur, Bhimber, Sialkot, Chak Amru, Muridke and Bahawalpur. Your thoughts on selection of targets and method of execution, Colonel Singh?
In my opinion, those targets that are there in the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, they were very obvious targets. It does not surprise me at all. But what really surprises me is the fact that we have targeted in the heart of Punjabi hinterland, that is Sialkot, Chakamru, Muridke and Bahawalpur. And of all these places, Bahawalpur is a very target, because that is the place where they have the headquarters of their strategic reserve. So apart from that, that area holds a very important, very dangerous headquarter of a terrorist organization, and that has been targeted. So these 2 targets that I just mentioned, that is Muridke and Bahawalpur, both Jaish and Lashkar targets, they are of very great significance, and Pakistan cannot deny any such attack that has taken place in heart of Punjab, because Punjab, they can always deny the attacks, whatever happened in the PoK, because their things can be very controlled. But the casualties that would take place in Punjab will not be hidden, they cannot be hidden. And now Pakistan army is under tremendous pressure. DGISPR has also issued a statement saying that the strike will be responded. So now let's wait and see how do they respond. So next 24 hours, I personally feel, are going to be very, very crucial and very sensitive by the fact that Pakistan it has got no other choice but to react. And how will we respond thereafter is again going to be of very high strategic significance, and world is watching, there is no doubt about it.
Indeed, the world is watching, the world is waiting and watching, as Colonel Singh is saying there. All eyes on Pakistan's Army Chief General Asim Munir. What will he do? What would he be thinking? What would he do in the next several hours, possibly a day, to figure out what he chooses, how he chooses to escalate, if at all he plans to do that. But in the meantime, Colonel Singh, just to bring our viewers some more information coming their way, we were told earlier on the show by General Yadav that Rafale aircraft were used in hitting these 9 targets. And also we are told that all the Indian Air Force pilots who were involved in Operation Sindoor have since been accounted for, which means that they have returned safely back to their motherland. Your thoughts on the IAF operations in particular, Colonel Singh? I'm afraid we lost that link with Colonel Singh. We'll try to
these are
reconnect with
source-based
him.
information
Please
floating
carry
around
on.
in the media. But needless to say that Indian Air Force has been involved, and Indian Air Force has carried out operations from own side of the international border. We have got a very safe standoff distance missiles as well as bombs that can be dropped, and all the targets, if you see and observe, they are very close to the border and the LOC. So Indian Air Force has definitely not crossed the line of control and the international boundary. If at all the strikes were to do with the fighter pilots, but there are also talks going on that some drones have been used. So far, nothing officially has been acknowledged or said. So I don't think so. We can get into this realm and carry out analysis of something that we are not very clear as of now. That exactly what has happened.
Fair enough. Colonel Singh there talking about the IF operations as part of Operation Sindoor, in which, if you're just joining us, India carried out strikes at 9 sites in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, targeting terror infrastructure in those areas, especially in Muridke and Bahawalpur, which have the headquarters of Jaish-e-Mohammed and the Lashkar-e-Taiba terror groups operating from Pakistan. Those were 2 of the 9 sites targeted in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. In response, as our graphics on the screen says, in response to the 22nd April Pahalgam terror attack, India carrying out airstrikes on 9 sites in Pakistan and PoK as part of Operation Sindoor. And the Indian Air Force aircraft has since returned to base, and all pilots have been accounted for. India saying its actions were focused, measured and non-escalatory in nature. No Pakistani military facilities have been targeted, and that India has demonstrated considerable restraint in selection of targets and method of execution. Right, if I go back to my guest, Dr. Aparna Pandey, who is with us on this special broadcast. Dr. Pandey, we've spoken about the Indian Embassy statement in Washington, D.C., clarifying India's position and the circumstances leading up to those strikes. What do you make of the tone and tenor of the statement, and could you put the text of the statement in its proper context for viewers, where it says that India has credible leads but Pakistan's involvement in the Pahalgam attack, and that India's actions were focused and precise, they were measured, responsible and designed to be non-escalatory in nature. Your thoughts on the text, subtext and context of the Indian Embassy statement put out in Washington, D.C.?
I believe the statement was put out because unlike in 2019, when many capitals around the world not just condemned the terror attack, but actually sort of chose and stated that Pakistan was responsible. This time around, most capitals have not blamed Pakistan for the terror attack. They have sympathized with India. They have empathized with India, they have supported India, but they have not called Pakistan out. And the reason is that most of them are waiting for some form of evidence. So I believe the embassy statement was to inform American interlocutors that India does have evidence which leads back to Pakistan, and which shows that once again a terror attack inside India and Indian Kashmir has roots tied to a Pakistan-based terror group. The second part of the statement was to reassure the global community, including the United States, that India is a responsible actor, that India does not, and that any action India takes, even if it is punitive, will not be escalatory. It will be measured, it will be focused. And the third point it wanted to make was that the strike shows that each time India has struck, whether 2016, 2019 or 2025, it has been against terror camps, terrorists and insurgents. It has never targeted civilians, and it has never targeted the Pakistani military.
Indeed, and another significance of the statement could be, to my mind, the India is saying that India's patience is not inexhaustible, that India will give a befitting response to provocations by Pakistan by carrying out such terror attacks in the past as well as going forward as well. So clearly the intent of the message is clear to one and all. If I can go back across to my colleague Salman Qazi on the phone line in Srinagar just one more time on this broadcast. Salman, walk our viewers through what transpired in the valley in the last several hours for the benefit of viewers joining us on this broadcast. In the last several hours, we've seen India carrying out strikes across the LOC and the IB, targeting terror infrastructure in Pakistan and PoK as well. What went through in the valley in those last several hours, Salman?
During the whole night, I mean, there have been jets flying in the sky, and there were, in fact, in many places, Pampur, there have been reports of huge explosions, and there are some social media accounts who have captured some sort of an aircraft down there. It's not clarified what kind of an aircraft, whether it's a drone, whether it's a helicopter, whether it's a jet, or which country. So there has been no clarity on that yet. But during the whole night, there were jets flying, and there has been somewhat of people have been messaging each other about what is happening. So there is a lot of non-clarity right now here with people. On the LOC, there has been ceasefire all along. There have been ceasefire violations all along the LOC, and in Bimber sector, Indian Army has said that Pakistan resorted to heavy shelling using artillery, which is in a total violation of the ceasefire agreement that had been institutionalized between the countries in 2021. So and Indian Army has said that they have been responding appropriately. And in these ceasefire violations, we have confirmed reports that 3 civilians have died in these ceasefire violations.
Right, Salman Qazi there on the phone line from Srinagar, reporting to us and you, the viewers, about what transpired in those several hours after India conducted those airstrikes on terror infrastructure in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Salman Qazi there from Srinagar. Right, if you're just joining us, let me recap the developments for you. India carrying out airstrikes across the international border as well as the line of control, targeting terror infrastructure, as I mentioned, in both Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. 9 sites in all, including 2 in Muzaffarabad and 1 each in other places, including Muridke and Bahawalpur. Remember, Bahawalpur is the headquarters of the Jaish-e-Mohammed terror outfit, and the Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist group is based out of Muridke. Clearly, India targeting terror infrastructure in particular across those 9 sites in all in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. And India describing those actions as being focused, measured and non-escalatory in nature. And no Pakistani military facilities were targeted. India saying that it has demonstrated considerable restraint in selection of targets and method of execution. That's the big news we're tracking here on DD India this hour. And with me still is my guest, Dr. Aparna Pandey. Dr. Pandey, let's talk a bit now, if you will, about India's diplomatic outreach in the lead up to these strikes and also in the days ahead. What do you make of India's outreach to the world capitals, including the US and other P5 countries? India also reaching out to the foreign ministers of the non-permanent UN Security Council members who met, by the way, a few days ago, but not coming out with a resolution. In fact, they were skeptical of Pakistan's claims following the Pahalgam terror attack.
So coming to the UN Security Council, yes, they were skeptical, and they will be, because the global community by and large understands that for the last 35 years, whenever there has been a terror attack inside India, it's almost always tied to a Pakistan-based jihadi group, and that Pakistan always denies this, but then sort of sooner or later the evidence comes out. So there's almost no capital in the world which believes that Pakistan, sort of has nothing to do with these terror attacks. But still, sort of the Indian diplomats and the Indian government has been reaching out to all of India's friends, partners across the West, Asia, Russia, China, the Gulf countries in the Middle East, which have good relations with both India and with Pakistan. Countries in sort of in Southeast Asia, East Asia, as well as United States and European countries to explain what happened, to provide a context, to provide details, and to sort of inform them that even if India does strike, which it did, India does not choose to escalate, and India only chooses to sort of strike against that terror group or the terror infrastructure, and not against the Pakistani state or the Pakistani military.
Indeed, Dr. Pandey, may I thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts, your perspectives, insights with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Right, so that was Dr. Aparna Pandey joining us from Washington, D.C. Hudson Institute, and sharing her thoughts and insights on Operation Sindoor. Remember, viewers, India has conducted airstrikes across the international border and the line of control, targeting terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir in the last several hours, targeting 9 sites in all, including Muridke and Bahawalpur in the Punjab province of Pakistan. Remember, Muridke, the headquarters of the Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist group, and Bahawalpur is the base of the Jaish-e-Mohammed terror group. Masood Azhar is heading the Jaish-e-Mohammed, and he resides or used to reside at one point of time in Bahawalpur, the headquarters of the JEM. Right, with me still is my colleague Akshay Dongre. Akshay, we are approaching the a new segment in our broadcast. Why don't you recap the developments for our viewers who might be tuning in?
Well, in pre-dawn, Ramesh, the Indian Armed Forces, in close coordination, the Indian Army, the Indian Navy, and the Indian Air Force finally conducted operation against the terror outfits, the terror infrastructure inside Pakistani territory, not only in the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, but also in other regions such as Bahawalpur, in Muridke, in Sialkot. And now these areas are deep inside Pakistan, especially Bahawalpur, which is about 100 kilometers inside Pakistan from the Indian border. So all of these were targeted with precision-based ammunition, precision-based missiles, and the kind of weaponry that has been used by the Indian Armed Forces remains confidential. There is a press conference today at 10 a.m. In New Delhi, which will be our answer officially to all of these questions that are being raised as far as India's action is concerned. However, it is believed that scalp missiles from Rafale fighters and loitering munition has been used. However, all of this is to be corroborated by the Indian Army and the Indian Armed Forces when they hold a media briefing as far as the operations and its nuances are concerned. But after the 22 April attack in Pahalgam of Jammu and Kashmir, there has been statements coming in from the resistant front, which is a front of Lashkar-e-Taiba terror outfit operating out of Pakistan, born in Pakistan, that they have taken responsibility of the attack. Once the population of Jammu and Kashmir, the state of Jammu and Kashmir, was the population of the entire country, and in fact the world started condemning the attack, especially because it was carried out against innocent civilians who were unarmed based on their religion. Lashkar-e-Taiba tried to backtrack. However, the initial confirmation also proves that the attacks were carried out from Pakistan and were conducted by Pakistan homegrown terror outfits. So there were a lot of meetings that were held by the Indian government. All of the top officials of the Indian armed infrastructure, the chiefs of the Indian Armed Forces, the Indian Navy, Air Force, and the Indian Army held meetings with a defense minister, held meetings with defense secretary, as well as the NSA, that is the National Security Advisor of India, Ajit Doval, and the Prime Minister himself. And in fact, there are, Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself stayed up all night to monitor this entire operation that was carried out against Pakistan, not only in POK region but also in other areas as well. You know, 9 areas have been struck. Out of these, about 6 are inside a POK, but 3 or 4 major locations are in Pakistani territory as well. So ever since those attacks were carried out, there are reports coming in that all the pilots who were part of these operations are accounted for. They have returned back safely, and now Indian Army is retaliating to the violation of ceasefire that was conducted by Pakistani armed forces. Artillery shelling has been consistent at the LOC areas as well as the international border too, which is unprecedented in nature as far as these kind of operations are concerned. But the Indian Army is retaliating. However, unfortunately, 3 civilians have died in this mindless shelling that was conducted by Pakistan. It seems that they were already preparing to target and shell and fire at civilian areas to deal most damage. And indiscriminate firing is taking place. However, all measures are being taken by the Indian Armed Forces, who are retaliating in a proportionate manner and in a precision-based manner, in not only against the terrorists but also against the Pakistani armed forces, who are now violating the ceasefire along the LOC and the international border.
Right, Akshay, do stay on. It says viewers, just after 6:30 in the morning India time, or 9 p.m. in New York City. If you're just joining us, you're watching the rolling coverage here on DD India of India's Operation Sindoor response to the Pahalgam attack. India carrying out airstrikes at 9 locations in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir in the last several hours. Joining me is a special guest, Captain Alok Bansal, Director, India Foundation. Captain Bansal, welcome to DD India. Your initial thoughts on what has transpired in the last several hours in India. India carrying out strikes targeting terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Your thoughts on Operation Sindoor?
Firstly, India has actually chosen the targets very carefully. We have actually chosen the targets which have been the epicenter of terror as far as Pakistan is concerned. Murid ke, Bahawalpur, Muzaffarabad, Kotli, all these places have been targeted where the terrorist camps were there. And I just was listening to an input from Bahawalpur where some bystander actually told that 7 missiles hit the infrastructure that was being maintained by Masood Azhar, and his personal whereabouts are unknown. So I think the choice of targets has been very careful. India did not wish to escalate, as government has stated very clearly. We did not deliberately target any military targets because we are not really seeking escalation, but a punishment to those who were perpetrating terrorist acts was an essential fact. And Pakistan, since it has nothing else to do, it is not in a position to launch an airstrike at this moment, has upped the ante by artillery shelling across line of control. And I think Pakistan is being given a befitting reply by the Indian Armed Forces. The way Indian Armed Forces have gone about, it seems that all 3 forces are ready for any escalation should Pakistan desire that and take any foolhardy step of targeting India or Indian territory.
Right. Captain Bansal, do stay on. I'll come back to you momentarily. Let me also take a moment to welcome another of our guests joining us. Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, retired, is with us. General Kulkarni, welcome to this special broadcast. May I ask you for your initial comments, your initial thoughts on Operation Sindoor?
Jai Hind, Ramesh, heartiest congratulations. I think that is what Pakistan deserved. I think they've got the message, and hopefully in India also, all that emotions choke that why isn't India reacting? Why isn't India wanting to take on the terrorist hideouts in Pakistan? I think that has now been achieved. 9 terrorist hideouts, just not in POK, but also in Punjab, Bahawalpur, the hub of terrorism of Jaish-e-Mohammed, that is Masood Azhar, has also been hit very hard. And the very fact that the Pakistan's Prime Minister has tweeted to say that, well, India has attacked and that we now reserve the right to retaliate. The DGISPR of theirs is saying that Pakistan has been hit, is indicative that their terrorist camps have been hit hard. There has been a total failure of power at all these places. Rightly so. I think it's enough is enough. Pakistan needed to be given a message that this is not the way we could tolerate it. We tried to give a strategic messaging once after Uri, then once again after Pulwama. But if they have not got that right, now this is the time we've given it. If Pakistan wishes to escalate, so be it. Pakistan will get it back. Properly synergized operation, total jointmanship, directly being overseen by the Prime Minister himself since morning. I think all that everyone has wanted the Prime Minister to do, the Raksha Mantri to do, the Home Minister has been saying all along, I think it's been executed so well. Total secrecy. I don't think anybody other than the ones who would execute really knew that it would happen at around 2 o'clock in the morning. And that speaks volumes of the kind of secrecy, the kind of synchronization, the kind of synergy exhibited, and the kind of jointmanship executed, resulting in none of our aircrafts crossed the LOC. It was all from within the standoff attacks, which led to the destruction of, I'm told, 9 terrorist hideouts in Pakistan. And of course, our National Security Advisor has also spoken to America, conveyed to him our determination to hit the terrorists, and the entire world stands with India for fight against terrorism. We have not attacked Pakistan. We have attacked the terrorist hideout, which unfortunately happened to be in Pakistan. So that it is. And therefore, I think hopefully all those people, and aptly named Operation Sindoor, couldn't have been better. I think aptly named Operation Sindoor. So there that anxiousness, that nervousness that was there amongst those 26 people who had lost their lives. Besides that, the entire nation went very, very sad that such a thing had to happen over there. People being hit, and I'm sure we have now avenged that particular incident of what happened in Pahalgam, but hoping that Pakistan will not repeat again. If should it happen again, I think Pakistan knows that in the escalatory ladder, they will just be destroyed, and it will be leading to their problems, because in Balochistan, there's a lot that is happening. In Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, there's a lot that is happening, which Pakistan has to be careful about. Yeah,
indeed. Captain Bansal, coming back to you, you said Hafiz Saeed's whereabouts are not known. Do you think he could have been or might have been taken out by these strikes?
I really have no firm inputs, but there is no doubt that I have got inputs very clearly that Bahawalpur and Muridke, which are the headquarters of 2 major terrorist outfits, have been targeted. And the input from Bahawalpur was that there were 7 missiles which actually targeted the establishment. So if that sort of an attack has taken place, there would be widespread death and destruction as far as these terror factories are concerned. And I guess we'll have to wait, because if any major terrorist would have been eliminated, Pakistan would be reluctant to admit that, and it will take a few days before we get confirmed inputs about their elimination.
Also, Captain Bansal, what do you make of the choice of targets and locations? In 2019, we saw Balakot in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province being targeted. But this time, India choosing at least 2 of those 9 sites, or 3 of those 9 sites are in the so-called Punjabi heartland, from where the Pakistani army draws its sustenance. And these are located across the international border, not the LOC, but the international border separating the 2 countries. Your thoughts on the selection of those targets based on intelligence inputs and the method of execution in particular?
See, firstly, Balakot itself, we had given a very clear signal that any terrorist attack, we would strike across the international border, so which we have reiterated. But considering the disquiet that exists today in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan against the military and the Pakistani regime, I think it is a prudent that we have targeted targets in PoJK as well as in Punjab, which has been the heartland. And more importantly, the selection of Muridke and Bahawalpur gives a very clear signal, not only to Pakistan, but also to international community, that India's intent is to eliminate terror from its roots. We have no intention of attacking Pakistani civilians or Pakistani military. The aim was to eliminate the terrorists, their factories, and their sponsors. And I think that's why we have shown to Pakistan that no place in Pakistan is actually free from Indian retaliation should they indulge in this sort of an act. And by carrying out these attacks on Murid Ke, Bahawalpur and other places within Pakistan, we have given very clear indications to Pakistan that India will not stop should any retaliation or any terror attack comes from Pakistan.
Indeed. Captain Bansal, General Kulkarni, do stay on. Let me go across to my colleague Vishal Barrister, who is joining us on the phone line from Srinagar. Vishal, do you have an update for us?
Well, absolutely, Ramesh. It's been a big surprise for the countrymen here because we were expecting this kind of action for long, and we heard slogans of Bharat Mata Ki Jai on the borders, and Pakistan has also confirmed 24 impacts and 8 casualties that have been reported. This is coming from Pakistan. Meanwhile, 3 civilians have been also killed on India side because of firing from Pakistan. So it's a big military action, and we are expecting a press brief at 10 o'clock on Operation Sindoor on how it was planned, and definitely a decisive action taken by India. Ramesh?
What's the mood in the valley, Vishal, this morning as we speak, 6 or 7 hours after Operation Sindoor was put into action?
Well, it's a welcome morning because people are so very excited. They were waiting for long, and it was a long wait. People were asking as to why action is being delayed and no action is being taken. Last evening, we were all preparing for a mock drill, and it was also said that airspace the Indian Army would be having a routine exercise on the Rajasthan border. But in the night, the Operation Sindoor was conducted. So the morning has been, it's a welcome morning for people of Srinagar because they were also very much in anger against this brutal killing in Pahalgam.
Indeed. So my colleague Vishal Barrister reporting there from Srinagar saying that the Pakistani retaliation artillery fire is still happening as we speak, but situation is still very much under control following the Operation Sindoor. Indian airstrikes carried out on terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan. And just to recap what Vishal was reporting there, he says Pakistan Army resorted to arbitrary firing, including artillery shelling from posts across the line of control and the international border opposite Jammu and Kashmir. 3 innocent civilians have lost their lives in the indiscriminate firing and shelling by the Pakistani forces, and the Indian Army, we are told, is responding in a proportionate manner. That's the latest inputs received by my colleague Vishal Barrister, who was on the phone line from Srinagar. Right, we still have with us our guests, Captain Alok Bansal, Director, India Foundation, and Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, retired DG Infantry of the Indian Army, who was honored with the award for unfurling the national flag on Siachen Glacier, Billafon La Place in 1983-84 Operation Meghdut. Gentlemen, welcome, and thank you for joining us again on this broadcast. If I can start with you, General Kulkarni, your thoughts on the Pakistani Army Chief, General Asim Munir. Given what we know about him and his strategic calculus and orientation, what must be going through his mind as we speak? Do you think he would have learned his lesson, or you think he will still continue with his misadventures?
See, Ramesh, Pakistan expected this because if you look back, you saw how the chief of the army staff had dispatched the family. So Pakistan is fully, deeply involved into the entire act. They knew from day one that if Munir was to do what he has done by executing at Pahalgam, he knew that India will retaliate. That is what they wanted. And I think from that point of view, he knew India will retaliate and therefore dispatch the family. Now it is up to him whether he wants to raise the escalation ladder or should he want to throw the towel. Because at this point of time, when he knows, and they know the 9 targets, they can say what they want to say, but all the 9 targets are terrorist hideouts, hubs of terrorism. And therefore, even not just in PoK, rightly so in Punjab and deep in heart of Punjab, Bahawalpur, which have been hit, shows clearly that we have not hit any civilian installation, we have not hit any military installation. All that we have hit are terrorist hideouts, organized, or those hubs of terrorism in Pakistan. So Pakistan knew it, and notwithstanding, for the last so many days, the ceasefire violations along the LOC, which was still confined to the small arms fire, has now gradually been escalated to the artillery fire. Obviously, there will be retaliation to the Indian side, because the Indians would not going to leave them just like that. There will be heavy firing from our side onto the Pakistani side. Now the Pakistanis will have to decide what is it that they want. It was at 2 o'clock in the morning that this Operation Sindoor was executed. Now, from 2 o'clock till now, you'll find that certain amount of semblance would have, the Pakistanis would have recovered from the shock. You've had the tweet of their Prime Minister, you've had the tweet of their DGISPR as to what we have done to them. I don't think they would want to escalate. I don't think. But knowing how Pakistan, a rogue state that it is, it has a nuisance value, how much of it will be instigated and provoked by China, let's carry on, keep doing it. The aim is to see to it that Pakistan, in any case, has lost everything. It has got nothing economically. It has no standing internationally. In the Financial Action Task Force, aim should be to have it again put on the grey list. At the same time, the last bit of the loan which is to come from the IMF, not to be given to them, because Pakistan does not utilize funds released to it for development. And so with the IWT in place, with the kind of now kinetic strikes that have taken place, hopefully some good sense should prevail, and they would. I sincerely hope they would, as much as there is people rejoicing in the valley for the attack, there would be people within Pakistan now wanting to go against the establishment that look what you've done. You're starving us on the Indus Water Basin, and here you've stuck us all over, and our lives are getting miserable entirely because of them. I think it is time that Pakistan, but I will not rule out, Pakistan will retaliate. If they wish to retaliate, it is up to them at what level they want to retaliate. However, our initial action against the terrorist hideouts in Pakistan has been to keep it below a threshold, conveying clearly that we are striking terror. We are not striking Pakistan, which unfortunately happens to be in Pakistan, is a separate issue. But we are striking terror. In that context, I think within India also, a whole lot of emotional anger as to when are we going to strike. We have struck and we've given a due reply. Hopefully, Pahalgam has been avenged. Should Pakistan intends raising the escalatory ladder, we are prepared, because we have not gone into striking, putting this at the last bit of it. No, this is for us also the first step. Should Pakistan intend going up the escalatory ladder, we are prepared for it and give it back to them. Yeah.
Indeed. So as General Kulkarni is saying there, all eyes now on the Pakistan's Army Chief, General Asim Munir. What will he do? What would he be thinking? Will he act? Will he not act? Will he respond or escalate the situation? We are waiting and watching to hear from the Pakistani side what they are up to. But in the meantime, just to add to what General Kulkarni was saying there, the Indian statement is very clear. It says, no Pakistani civilian, economic or military targets have been hit, which compounds General Asim Munir's problems, Captain Bansal, because he does not have any terrorist camp operating in India to target. So inevitably, he might have to target, if he chooses to respond, that is, either civilian or economic or military targets. So problems galore there for General Asim Munir, Captain Bansal.
See, there is no doubt that there are problems galore, but considering the persona of Mr. General Munir and the DNA of Pakistan Army, they would at least want to show to their countrymen that they have done something.
But what would they target then in that case, Captain Bansal? Because India says, we have not targeted your economic targets or civilian targets or military targets. We are only targeting and specifically terror infrastructure. So if General Asim Munir were to respond, what could he possibly target?
Their media is claiming that they're targeting the military targets. I really don't know what they are saying, but that's what they're trying to project to the world. But as I said, they could concoct attacks. They could say that they have carried out attacks, whereas they carry out nothing. Because their whole aim is to inform their own public that yes, they have done something. Whether it is in the desert or it is in the agricultural field, they could carry out some attacks to salvage some sort of a face, because if they don't do it, I think Pakistan army will lose whatever little credibility it has amongst its masses, which is as it is very low. But knowing the internal dynamics of Pakistan, it is inevitable that they would put up some show, whether real or concocted, where they will show that they have also retaliated, and then they will claim big things that they have done A, B, C, D. Because as of now, what they are claiming is that the civilians have died in the attacks. Of course, the potential terrorists would be civilians. So that there is no doubt about it. So that sort of attacks would be going on, and that's what they are probably thinking. But retaliation, to my mind, is inevitable. But they also realize that once India retaliates, it will be far more, because now it could come from any dimension, and that's something which is actually troubling them at this point of time.
Fair enough. If, as you say, Captain Bansal, it is General Asim Munir's domestic or ideological compulsion to respond to these strikes, which could risk further escalation, the question then arises, especially in the wake of a Moody's ratings report that says, given the state of Pakistan's economy, that country, an army with a state, as some call it, cannot afford a war with India. So what might be the calculus, or the thinking or the mindset today, this morning as we speak, in Rawalpindi, the GHQ, given the fact that India has carried out the strikes, and as you mentioned, a response might be inevitable. So is that upping the escalation ladder, because India will choose to respond befittingly if Pakistan attacks India's economic, military or civilian targets?
See, the attempt from Pakistan's side would be that they show to their domestic audience that it's a credible attack, while it being a symbolic attack as far as India is concerned. They'll be hoping that India does not up the ante. But at the same time, they would like to convince their domestic masses, yes, that Pakistan army has not buckled down, it has actually retaliated. So these are the twin contrarian requirements of the Pakistan army, because they know they don't have a wherewithal for a long drawn battle. So they'll have to take a call. One really wonders what they would do. But as I said, some sort of retaliation is inevitable. Either they will probably target those airfields from where the attacks came up or something like that. Some sort of an attack is inevitable.
Fair enough. On that note, may I thank you, Captain Bansal, for joining us. Captain Alok Bansal, Director, India Foundation, sharing his thoughts with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you, Captain Bansal, for joining us. Appreciate it. Right, we still have with us Lieutenant General Kulkarni with us. General Kulkarni, taking off from the point where Captain Bansal left, General Asim Munir, mind this morning, damned if he does, damned if he does not? Respond, I mean?
Ramesh, I think at this point of time, Munir himself must be baffled as to what is to be done. Because any strike from Pakistan would be on the Indian soil, not on any terrorist hideouts or camps, because we have none.
Right.
So he is in a catch-22 situation. If he wants to raise the escalation ladder, he is welcome to. We will get it back. However, along the LOC, yes, he will continue. He has already raised it from small arms to artillery. There would be still some more. I'm sure we will retaliate it much more harder. He has problems because he does not have that kind of ammunition. He does not have that kind of reserve. Neither does the country has adequate economic ability to stretch this war if Munir wishes to. For how long would it? China, I'm sure at this point of time, much that it might give a sympathetic view, stand with Pakistan, would not want to indulge directly with tariff wars with America, with over $100 billion trade that it has, plus in its own favor with India. China wouldn't want now at this point of time. But yes, it will stand in support of Pakistan, but definitely not directly involved, either giving anything to Pakistan, but Turkey, one of their destroyers already at berth in the Karachi port. That's all that they could do. It could be a coincidence, or it could have come over there with some intention, whatever it be. So, Pakistan at this point of time, with the kind of the armed forces that we have, they do not stand a chance. If they wish, they can try it out. Otherwise, it is in their interest that they just keep mum, close the chapter. Better for them to say that they can say what they want to say, that we will strike India at the time of their choosing, at their they can do so. But immediately is to de-escalate the situation. India has awailed what it wanted at Pahalgam, and that's it. But should Munir decide to up the ante, then therefore India will retaliate so much harder that Pakistan will find it difficult. And Pakistan knows at this point of time, Balochistan is on fire. Balochistan will secede from Pakistan, and whoever them own members of the Legislative Assembly have been telling them again and again in the National Assembly that Pakistan flag does not fly in many provinces of Balochistan. There's enough what Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan is doing to the Pakistan security forces in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So it's very difficult. I don't think at this point of time Munir should just be able to consolidate. If his aim was to take power and throw Shehbaz Sharif, well, this is the right time for him. He can take power and try and control Pakistan, because economically shattered, internally turmoil, a lot within them, the army, the officers and men over there have resigned and don't want to be under him. It is up to him what he wants to do. But any kinetic energy escalation from Pakistan would be dangerous for Pakistan. That is what I feel.
Absolutely.
I leave it to their good sense. If they wish to raise the escalation, so be it. Yeah.
Absolutely. General Kulkarni, do stay on. I'll come back to you momentarily. But time for a very short break. Viewers, keep watching this special broadcast. The rolling coverage continues on the other side. On Operation Sindoor, India striking back and taking revenge and delivering justice for the 22nd April Pahalgam terror attack. Don't go anywhere.